Take a look inside your closet, and you will likely find a graveyard of good intentions. Pristine, expensive equipment sitting completely untouched. Think back to the moment that gear arrived at your door. You waited days for it. But instead of the expected rush of excitement to finally begin, you looked at the box and felt a wave of exhaustion. Most onlookers have a simple explanation for this. They look at the untouched supplies and write it off as flakiness or a simple lack of discipline. But that ignores the time and money you already invested. You genuinely desired to learn the skill, which makes a sudden, total loss of motivation illogical. This disconnect suggests our internal reward system is prioritizing specific types of mental effort over others, a biological process we need to deconstruct. To understand this process, we have to rewind to the initial spark of obsession. This is the hunting phase, where you decided to start a hobby and set out to find the best equipment available. You open dozens of browser tabs. You compare minute specifications. You spend hours reading deep dive reviews to make the perfect choice. This chart shows how our brain's reward system responds during a new project. Research on motivation reveals that the brain is energized by the anticipation of a reward, rather than the repetition of the work itself. You get a massive spike of dopamine before picking up a tool. Purchasing high-end supplies lets you immediately adopt the persona of an expert. You acquire the aspirational identity of a photographer or athlete without a single day of practice. The moment you click checkout serves as a biological shortcut. Your mind processes the financial transaction as a successful leap toward your long-term goal. This shortcut allows your nervous system to feel a rush of progress while entirely bypassing the struggle of being a beginner. In this zone, the dopamine line remains flat at 0. The grand vision in your head is thrilling, but the actual physical steps feel draining to a brain that has already been rewarded. The gear acts as a psychological prop, tricking the mind into feeling the satisfaction of a journey completed through a simple financial transaction. During the waiting period before the package arrives, you spend hours watching tutorials and mentally mapping out your entire path to mastery. This gauge represents your cognitive energy. Sustained thinking, like evaluating choices and predicting outcomes, consumes real biological energy. By the time the gear finally arrives at your front door, your brain has been operating at maximum capacity for days. The external appearance of laziness masks a physical reality. Your brain has finished a mental marathon and is too exhausted to start the physical work. This brings us back to the present. The expensive package is in your room, demanding physical action. Because you bought the absolute best equipment, you have created immense internal pressure to perform flawlessly on the first attempt. Leaving the gear untouched is a psychological defense. To your brain, waiting in a state of potential feels safer than starting imperfectly and shattering your new aspirational identity. You are not a failure for having unused gear. You simply got caught in a biological loop that prioritizes the thrill of anticipation over the reality of execution. To break the loop, we have to follow a biological rule. The brain can only be genuinely rewired through small, repeated, and often uncomfortable physical actions. The next time you want to start a hobby, deliberately introduce friction. Refuse to purchase the idealized expert identity up front. Borrow entry-level equipment or buy the cheapest version available. Force yourself into a state of messy practice where you have no choice but to be a beginner. Real mastery requires earning the expensive upgrade through the reality of execution, rather than buying the illusion of anticipation.